How's it going, everyone? I'm going to do a video today just on dealing with a market drawback. So, if we look at this SPY D1 chart in the corner here, we had a pretty decent day of selling today that I think took a couple traders by surprise, maybe blindsided some folks, maybe you had a pretty strong negative emotional response to it. So, in this video, I'm going to just talk about the positions that I have on, what I am thinking before this candle came, what I'm thinking after this candle came, and the plans for some of the open positions that I posted in either the one option chat or the real day trading live chat. We'll keep it pretty simple. So let's just start with the market first. I'm going to make this bigger right now so we have something to look at. This might be a little too big. All right. So what's the context? We start with the longer term technical, which is bullish, right? All said and done, SPY is in a bullish trend. We're above all the SMAs with a nice stack. SPY has been riding up this 8 and 15 EMA. We'll talk about that in a second. But we're still not in a bearish market. We're still making higher highs and higher lows as of right now. In a shorter term time frame, which I'm going to count for about the last month or so, this action has been really choppy, really patchy, very gappy, and lots of moves up and down. Just a lot of chop with some bullish bias to it, maybe, but very hard to trade in this pattern, very hard to predict, and just hard to navigate in. So I think the shorter term bias to me is neutral to mildly bullish, is how I feel. So I'm going to go over the 4 trades that I am in and when I took them. So let's start with the first trade over here, which is EOSE. So I'm in EOS, which I took over here. I took it on the 7th. And here is, you can see it line up over here. Here's the market on the 7th. We had a bullish hammer off of the 50 SMA. And I'm going to go to these positions just one by one and say, okay, well, here's the setup at the time. Was this a good setup? And was I trading in the direction of the market? So here's the setup at the time. I'm going to go back in time on EOSE. All right. So here's the setup on EOSE. Stock, super strong uptrend, pulls back here, breaking out of compression, some of this downward sloping trend line, some of these AVWAPs break, huge move on super heavy volume that is going to be testing this high over here, and it has relative strength. It held up pretty well considering that the market at the same time had dropped considerably from the all-time high over the last, 5 or 6 days, and this stock was pretty flat. So stock is good. Market, I'm trading in the direction of the longer term trend. The shorter term trend, it's still not, this still doesn't have technical confirmation completely because I'd like to see us get back over the 8 and the 15, but we have a nice bounce off of the 50 SMA. So I figured I can take one position and have a starter position in EOS, and I can decide whether I want to add to this trade if the market continues to be bullish, and if it doesn't continue to be bullish, then I can evaluate and see what the stock does. So that's EOSE. Next trade that I am in is not MU. Actually, I should have it here. Oh, yes. All right. It is U. All right, so took you right here on the 10th. You can see that this is a strong stock, a little bit choppy, but it is in a bullish uptrend, and this stock is getting above some major points of resistance. This purple line is the IPO AVWAP, so that's kind of a line in the sand for the stock. You can see how it had a bigger dip, pulled back. It found some support on the SMA 100, and it had earnings. So while the market was rallying, the stock was able to hold its gains and actually start to advance up a little bit from those earnings when the market found support. On this day, here's the market on the 7th, and then I took this stock on the 10th. Market is now gap up, added to those gains through this downward sloping trend line here, the all-time high AVWAP, which is lining up with the 8 and the 15 EMAs, and this stock is able to get above some resistance. So this is a pretty nice trade. I have room to about, call it $47 maybe over here. So you, pretty decent setup. I wouldn't say it's maybe A plus, but you know it's pretty solid. Next trade here is Open. Open, again, super strong D1 stock, has rallied back very hard. Stock has pulled back here and then has found some strength post earnings after this this move here, just breaking through a whole ton of levels of resistance. So I've taken it here at 11.12. Let's look at the market on 11.12. Here's a market on 11.12. It is is adding to the gains, holding to it, and it's managing to push up and test some resistance over here, maybe around 685. Some touches at that level. You can see Open has been leading the charge up. Nice volume over here and just breaking a whole ton of technical levels. We have room at least to maybe 1071 over here, 1050. And then there's some major resistance coming back all the way to 13. So given that this is a longer term swing that I have, and I have a starter position in Open, I am ready to just watch to see what the market does, right? If the market pulls back, right, and then Open holds its gains and the market finds support and rallies, I can add to the trade. And I've calls out to December 19th, so I got over a month on these. So have some time in Open. This is a good looking setup that I took. Next one is MU. Also took this trade on the 12th. MU, very, very strong chip stock. This one has been riding up its 815 EMAs. It's a little bit choppy. You can see it's not like super tight like it is here, but it's maintaining a pretty decent channel. And it's just a very tight, predictable, orderly channel over here with some dips to the 8, some dips to the 15, like I mentioned. And it's been really ignoring the market, right? Here's the market pulling back, right? And then, you know, this stock has been able to really hold all those gains, and even rallying just on any single day, right? Here's a tiny little day in the market. This stock has makes a nice little green candle, so just been holding very nicely on these market days and just continuing its uptrend. Doesn't have earnings for a little while, I think, so it is it's looking quite good. And I took it right over here, 245. Typically, you want to get maybe a candle like this where it probes here and we get a nice bullish candle. That's a really nice entry point on MU that you can ride up for a couple of days. But you know, I took a little more of an aggressive entry, took a starter position here, but just evaluating. So as of this day here, as of the 12th, I am in 4 stocks. I'm in EOS, which is a starter position. I'm in Open, which is a starter position. I'm in U, which is maybe like a 2/3 size position. And I am in MU, which is also another starter position. So I'm in about 4 starter positions here, all with very, very good D1 charts. I'm trading in the direction of the market, and we have technical confirmation that we are joining this uptrend and we're pushing forward, even though the market has been a little bit choppy. So my prediction is that we were going to at least test this 690 level. You know, we might have some bumps along the way. We could pull back a little bit. We could maybe stall, but I want to see some progress to 690, and it's probably going to happen in the next 1 to 2 weeks, right? That's pretty much my bias as of the 12th. Okay, so now we get this gap down and we sell off pretty hard. So let's see what my stocks do first in response to this. So I'm trading these technical setups in the stocks, and I have these stops in place, these technical stops where if it breaks a technical level, I'm going to get out of the trade. So let's look at MU. MU today held up pretty well. It did not gap down very much. It was holding up, and you can see actually here's MU on the day. And I'm actually going to go minimize this here and have the SPY M5 chart just so we can see the comparison. All right. So I'm actually going to flip these here just so the crosshairs sync up a little bit. Okay. So, and let's hide the drawings. Let's keep it real clean. Let's keep it real simple. Okay. SPY steady selling the whole day. MU kind of a flat open, chopping around initially, gets dragged down a little bit, holds up really well, gets dragged down again, finds some support, rallies up all the way back to the 8 EMA, and has a strong close on the day on, look at this volume coming in on MU. This is pretty nice volume coming in on the stock. So MU looks pretty good. Let's look at EOS. Okay, EOS, okay, so we have a breach of this level, which is what I don't like. I wanted to see this halfway point of this candle hold, and I'm leaning on the open of this candle. This 50 SMA is coming up over here. I don't want to see this get tested. I want this stock to continue upwards. So we're seeing some selling pressure the day before, right, which is over here. We got a little bit of a bounce off over here. Test this level again. We broke down through, but we finished the day on a little bit of a bounce, so there was some relative strength. Look at the price action here. It doesn't look like it's selling off super hard. It's kind of getting dragged down for the most part today, right? It's not, it was, the day, if I look at the start of the day, it's been pretty flat relative to the market with the exception at the end. Not super strong, not super weak, just kind of getting dragged down by the market. So there is probably some resistance over here on EOSE. But if I look at this D1 chart, it's still a bullish chart. I might have a double top marginal new high, but I'm going to wait and see. And I'm leading on support over here around $14. That's my entry on the starter position. So if that support starts to fail, I don't want it to break down really hard. If it pokes above it and gaps up and moves back up, okay, that's fine. But I want to see this support around $14 hold. So that's my line of the sand on EOSE. So nothing to panic about. I'm still watching it. All right, let's look at U. So U is much more of a problem child. So got into this trade, it looked pretty good, and then this one didn't rally with the market the past couple of days and had some pretty strong selling earlier in the day before it stalled out at the 100-day SMA and just did not rally, did not drop for the rest of the day, right? And here's kind of the key tell. You can see that there's a SPY drop, and this stock doesn't really, it drops a little bit, but it's gaining relative strength because this SMA 100 is in the way. So that's providing some support for today. Now, I'm leading kind of over here, right? These are the levels that I'm leaning on in terms of my stop 42, 40-ish, right? Some of these high volume candles here. So I want this stock to pop back up over here. I also know it's a little bit choppy, right? So I have to give it some room to wiggle and jiggle. But I want to see this stock come back up over here, get back to the 50 SMA pretty quickly. If I see that, I think I know I'm back on track. Now, already I'm thinking, okay, well, we started to see some selling pressure over here. We're not able to get back up to these highs. So that tells me that, yeah, I'm probably, it's less likely that this stock is going to be the one leading the charge up. It's more likely going to fail. So I'm probably going to just try to take a better loss on this, maybe a smaller loss, and then get out of the trade and see what happens. But I have until December 19th to make that decision. I have some deep in the money calls. I believe they're at $36, so they're still in the money here. I don't have to worry about them being out of the money. Um, and I can also sell calls against my position if I really want to. I don't think I want to make that decision yet. But that's you. It's just been, it broke some key levels that I'm leaning on. It's testing a pretty important level. You can see how this SMA 100 has held a couple of times here. So we also have, if you draw some upward sloping trend lines here, right, we have some of these coming into play as support. So that's you. It's holding up pretty well. It's holding up okay, I should say. It's not holding up super well. And I kept an eye on this today because I didn't want it to break below and close below the SMA 100. If it did that, I would have cut the trade and I would have taken the loss. Here, it's still technically valid, but it's not looking great. So I'm going to give it maybe another day or two, see if it can't recover these losses, see what the market does over here on this kind of day. And that leaves us with open, the final position. Now, open had a fantastic day of relative strength. Look at this chart, right? This is what you want to see on a bearish trend day. Open, just chopping around, right? We get some pokes lower, gobble back up, slap down, gobble back up. I mean, this stock is going absolutely nowhere. It preserves all the gains of yesterday, right? It's still actually above the prior day's open. All right, here's the open at 849. Here's the close at 856, right? It's pretty much flat for the day. If you look at the market, I mean, closed at 683. Market's down 11 bucks. Market's down 1.5%. It's down over 1.5 ATRs, right? And open, it's just an average candle, average kind of day. So this is holding up really well. And if the market finds support, I expect this stock to be the one leading the charge because look at this, gaining some relative strength here, right? Holding up really well, nice relative strength the whole day. So this is the one that I'm the most keen on adding to because it is performing the best. So those are the positions. That's how I'm evaluating it. What's going to happen to the market, right? What's going to happen tomorrow, right? That's something you might be wondering about, something I might be worrying about. The answer is we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. The best thing you can do is to prepare for a couple of different scenarios. So you can still be proactive while still being humble, right? You don't have to be, trying to predict these fundamental angles or anything. If I keep it real simple, and I'll say, look, the market has been very choppy since October 10th because there's all the selling pressure that's been introduced now, right? There's some uncertainty with the China tariffs. Maybe there's some hawkish Fed speak today. Maybe that December rate cut is now being priced down. All those are probably some factors here. But if I'm looking at lines of the sand, I'm leaning on this SMA 50. This is support and it is held as support. So I'm leaning on this SMA 50 and I'm watching this level around 685. We have not really, we got a couple touches here. We came back all the way up to 685 and then we rejected back off. So we're just kind of in this choppy, messy range right now with the SMA 50 acting as sort of this upward sloping resistance that has been holding on pretty well to the market. And we're having some ceiling trouble over here at 685. So there's a couple of scenarios that could happen. The first one is the most bearish scenario. We crack down real hard. Red candle, red candle, red candle, right? And if I'm going back to the D1 chart, what's an example of how this would look like? How would this heavy selling look like? If you're ever confused, try to find a time in the D1 chart. Well, it might look something like this, right? Heavy selling, heavy, 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 right? If we get some move down like that, that's some heavy selling. We can start to favor the bearish side, and that would get us, it would enable us to take some short-term, some swing trades on the short side. This came after a long red candle and about 2 months of choppy action, right? It took a while for all of these long-term buyers to be shaken out. Okay, so that's one scenario. What's the other scenario? So scenario one, and you can give probabilities here too, right? Out of 100%, I think that most bearish scenario, I give it maybe a 15% chance of happening. I don't think we're going to get a massive breakdown. And if I felt that massive breakdown was like a 70% chance, then maybe I would have taken the loss on my positions all today because I thought the chance of this breakdown was just far too great. But I think I'm going to give it a 15% chance, right? That quantifies how much I'm really worried about scenario. I think it could happen, and if it happens, I'll take the loss. I'm sure my positions will take some heat. They're going to break through technical levels because of heavy market selling, and then I'll take the loss. And I'll move on. Second scenario is we get a most bullish scenario. We get a strong recovery. It could be a bullish hammer, another bullish hammer here. It could be a bullish engulfing candle. It could be even a gap up doji, right? That may test the high of this candle. That we really get into this gap and we digest some of those gains. All of those are pretty bullish, and I give that a maybe a 40% chance of happening, right? I think we're still in this long term uptrend, so I'm going to favor that long term uptrend until I am proven otherwise. So I think it's more likely that we see some sort of bounce that we don't. So those are two scenarios that covers 65%. What's the last one? Well, the last one here is that the market tests the 50 SMA, but it's a bit of a dead day, right? We have a day of heavy selling, and then we have a bit of a day of rest on the next day. That might be a flat open and a doji. We might see a test of the 50. We might see a poke below the AV WAP-Q, but a little bit of a doji right here. Maybe something like this, something like that, maybe something like this. It's just sort of a smaller candle for the day that doesn't really tell us anywhere. I give that maybe like a 35% chance of happening. So if I total all those together, what I'm thinking is it's more likely that we're going to be flat or bullish, 85% chance. Sorry, that was 55%. So I should say I did my math wrong. I will say 15% max bearish scenario. I will say 40 to 45% bullish, 40 to 45% neutral, right? So I'm leaning 85% is going to be pretty bullish or somewhat neutral, and 15% super bearish. That's how I'm feeling, right? And those probabilities, again, it's not like the truth of what's going to happen. There's no way to verify that. That's just my read of the situation and what the market is giving me. So I know what I think the odds are, and that helps me temper my bias. It helps me also decide if I want to add to trades or if I want to just maybe get out of trades. Because I'm neutral in the shorter term, and I have to see some pretty bullish price action to get me to add to trades. I need to see a bullish engulfing candle, and I need to see some follow through buying that cracks through this trend line, and we crack through 685 pretty aggressively. If I see that, then I will feel pretty comfortable adding to my long positions. If we kind of meander here, maybe get a gap up but smack down again, maybe get a gap up, smack down again, I'm not going to be as confident about adding to my starters. Maybe I just ride them and I take some profits on a pretty wimpy rally into year end. So that's sort of what could happen, right? So I have those out, and I know, again, technically in the stock where I want to get out, what I think the market is likely to do, and then whatever the market does, I'll trade that. So that's sort of the technical layout here of one, here is what I'm seeing in the market, and two, here are my open positions. And then putting that together based on those two things, here are some likely scenarios, and then here's what I'll do if each scenario happens. So that's the essence of it. And the mindset part is just trusting your setups, right? If you think about the trade, you have certain criteria you use to select high probability trades. You trade the best stocks, you trade in the direction of the market, and that's all you can control, right? Even the best great setups, right? Even a stock, if I look at something like MU, I mean, taking a while to load. Even if you look at something like MU, this stock, yeah, I mean, this is such a strong bullish chart. This is one of the best bullish charts you can possibly get, and it's been ignoring the market. Here's the 10-10 candle, right? Look at what the market did. Look at what MU has done, right? I mean, it's just been completely ignoring the market for the most part. I could still lose on this stock, but this is a great pick. I liked my entry, I liked my stock selection, and I entered at a good time in the market. And so if I lose, sometimes you will lose on these high probability trades, and then you move on, right? You have to make it so that one trade doesn't make or break you. You make it so that you take a trade, and every trade is just part of a system, right? Which is a much larger group of trades, and you trade according to that system. Where you might take losses, and you might have tougher market conditions and so on, but you just keep trading that system, and over time, that is a profitable system. If you know it's a profitable system, right? You have a high win rate, you have a positive profit factor, preferably a profit factor of over 2. You're gonna do pretty well. So that's the mindset aspect of it. Don't if you took good setups, you're trading with the market. Don't beat yourself up over losses or days like that. That's part of trading. You got to part of it's just taking it on the chin, and when the stocks break technical support, you get out of the trade. Right? I'll give an example today with GLW. I was long GLW and I took a loss today. Right? I was long here. Looked pretty good. Here, got pretty close to my price target. Didn't quite get it. Finished with the hammer. Now, we stayed in because it was still fine. Market looked good. Stock looked good. And then the stock sold off pretty hard, right? And I took the loss as it breached below that 50 SMA over here. Around 1, 2 o'clock. Pretty much did, close below it. Broke all our levels. A lot of support here at $83 that it broke. And then moved on. So, hey, look, that was a normal size position. That's part of the system. It's gonna get out of the trade, and now it's actually setting up quite nicely, probably for a short. We're gonna have to see how it looks tomorrow, but there's a pretty nice short setup in here that you can take on GLW. And I'm gonna look to trade that, and not worry too much about me losing on GLW, because maybe it wasn't good, or maybe I missed something, or blah 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 blah. It's a good setup, good entry. Trading with the market, and then didn't pan out, and that's it, right? Keep it simple. You don't berate yourself. Trade what you see, and take losses and move on to the next high probability setup, right? The cure to losses is to keep taking another great trade, right? Because this is a positive. This is not gambling, right? If it's gambling, the number one thing you should do is to stop trading, because you're going to be losing in the long run. If you are trading an edge, then the number one thing to do is to continue to trade that edge, because you're going to be profitable in the long run. The more you keep trading your edge, the more profits you're going to get, right? And the more you are exploiting that edge. So it's not about stopping, it's not about freezing, it's not about changing anything. It's about understanding some losses are part of your system, and you take them, and you just look for the next setup, and you trade that. So anyways, I hope this was helpful. I wanted to get this out because I felt that it could be a pretty good learning experience for some traders who, maybe you're having a tough time in these choppy trading conditions. Maybe you're just unsure what the market's going to do. Maybe you're just sort of overly scrutinizing things you might have missed. And as you're learning, look, you should scrutinize your trades, right? You should see if they could have done better. But if you're kind of in this sort of intermediate level, right? You've hit your 75% win rate milestones here. You've done that for a couple of months. You're picking good setups, and it's just about navigating that mindset part, and trading the market and trading what's in front of you. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you all in the next video.